hello, and welcome to the Feed My Sheep Foundation Bible Study video channel. Today on this video, we are continuing our Bible study in the book of 1Chronicles, and we are in chapter 9. And chapter 9 is going to take us into the focus and study of the Levitical priesthood in the book of Leviticus. That's where we're going today with this chapter. And it starts off with, all Israel were reckoned by genealogies, and behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, okay, who were carried away to Babylon for their transgression. Now the first inhabitants that dwelt in their possessions and their cities were the Israelites, the priests, the Levites, and the Nethinims. And in Jerusalem dwelt of the children of Judah, and of the children of Benjamin, and the children of Ephraim, and of Manasseh. And Uthah, the son of Ammihud, the son of Omri. And then it goes on to talk about, just going over some of the children of Judah and Israel that exist within Israel. And then over here, verse 7, again, I'm going to be skipping around verses. Verse 7, it says, the sons of Benjamin, and it goes on to list some of those. Verse 9, and their brothers according to their generations were 956. All these men were chief of the fathers in the house of their fathers. So they were very large, very, very large families. Verse 10, it goes on, and the priests of Jediah and Jehoram and Jachan. Verse 11, Azariah, the son of Hilkiah. Okay, then it goes down to going into our big Bible study, which would be the Levites. Verse 14, the Levites were Shemaiah, the son of Hashab, the son of Azrikam, and the son of Hashabiah. Okay, then it talks about an Obadiah, the son of Shemaiah. Let me see here. Going over to verse 22. Actually going back up to 20. Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, was the ruler over them in the time past, as the Lord was with him. Zechariah, the son of Melchemiah, was porter over the door of the tabernacle. All these which were chosen to be porters in the gates were 212. And this is going over to how they conducted the house of the Lord. And these were reckoned by their genealogy in their villages, whom David and Samuel the seer did ordain in their set office. So they and their children had the oversight of the gates of the house of the Lord, namely the house of the tabernacle by wards. And then it goes on to tell us down here in verse 26, the Levites, the 4 chief porters, were in their set office and were over the chambers and treasures of the house of God. That's the verse I wanted to get really close to, because that's what we're going to talk about, how the Levites were, again, looking at the Levitical priesthood. We're going to go into how they actually were the ones that were over the house of God in that day and time. And that was like after God first brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, and they were establishing like God's rulership, God's reigning, and they're just getting to know God. God was manifesting himself to them, and then he was setting them up as an ordained people. You know, he was establishing them. So he started off with establishing them with a presence where they could come together and worship him and get to know him and honor and reverence him. So the Levites were placed in charge of that by being commissioned and commanded to build the house of the Lord, to build certain altars unto God. Okay, so let me see here. To finish this chapter reading, let me see here. Okay, so just going with verse 46. We're still in verse 46, 1 Chronicles chapter 9. For the Levites, the 4 chief and the porters, and their set office, and were over the chambers and the treasures of the house of God, and they lodged round about the house of God, because the charge was upon them, the opening thereof every morning, and pertaining to them. And certain of them had the charge of the ministering vessels, that they should bring them in and out by tale. Some of them also were appointed to oversee the vessels and all the instruments of the sanctuary, and the fine flour, and the wine, and the oil, and the frankincense. Some of the sons of the priests made the ointment for the spices. So we see here how God placed the Levites in charge of everything over the house of God. Let me see, verse 33, and these are the singers, chief of the fathers of the Levites, who remaining in the chambers were freed, for they were employed in that work day and night. And these chief fathers of the Levites were chief throughout their generations too. Okay, so then it goes into talking about when they were in a certain city, Gibeah, and things that happened that pertain to Saul and Jonathan and the sons of Micah. We know that Micah's a book. Micah, where he's listed here in verse 41 in this same chapter, 1Chronicles, it talks about his sons here. He's listed too, and there's a book that is a book of Micah. And then another individual we're going to go into a little bit about is Ishmael. Ishmael is the other son of Isaac. I haven't really went into much Bible study regarding him, but we're going to take a look at him also in this chapter, because he's mentioned in the last verse, actually verse 44. Ishmael and Shariah and Obadiah and Haman, these were the sons of Aziel. But Ishmael, we're going to also talk about Ishmael, Isaac's son, or Abraham's son also. Okay? So, getting back to the Levitical and the Levi, the tribe of Levi. So we go over to Genesis chapter 49. And in Genesis chapter 49, verse, let's see here, 5, it talks about Simeon and Levi are brothers, instruments of cruelty, and violence is in their a part of their characters, where he's saying, O my soul, come not thou into thou secret unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they digged down a wall. So cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Okay, so that was the prophetic word that their dad spoke over them, and that was Simeon and Levi for the Levitical priesthood. Levi, the tribe of the Levites. So let's see here. Let's go over to the Leviticus chapter. Actually, let's take a look at the whole chapter. We're not going to read the whole chapter, but just looking at Leviticus, which is a book that Moses wrote, because he wrote the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those are the 5 books that Moses wrote. So Leviticus is the 3rd book, and Leviticus focuses on the worship of God and the creation of the nation of God, which would be the children of Israel at that time, because we're talking about the first group of people that God considered to be his inheritance, and he began to set everything in order with them, how he wanted things to be established in the earth. And the Levi, the tribe of Levi, was the tribe that was actually put into command to be responsible for the dedication of the sanctuary and the tabernacle and the house unto God, where everyone would come together. They would worship and praise and reverence God and speak to him and hear from heaven regarding things, that he wanted to say to them, and how he wanted to express his relationship with these new people that he had created, and was establishing as a nation. Okay, so in Leviticus, the book of Leviticus is also entitled or defined as, and he called, is also entitled and defined as Law of the Offerings. And it is a book that basically speaks the Levites, which it consists of the tribe of Levi, which is Levi is the son of Jacob. He's one of the children of Israel, one of the sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's see here. There's some other notes that we want to take up in reference to Levi and the tribe of the Levi. Leviticus 17. Let's take a look at that. Because, God was setting in order everything pertaining to his relationship with mankind. He was using Aaron and Moses. And Moses and Aaron were also a part of the Levitical Levi tribe. Okay, they were also a part of the tribe of Levi. They came through that genealogy, which makes sense that God would use them to be leaders in the house and over the people as they began to go forward and began to be considered and called into covenant with God. Okay, so he starts to order and starts to give them commandments regarding just being a people. Okay, and learning morality and learning principles and values and things of that nature. So he begins to teach that through Moses and Aaron. And so a lot of the structure that we have today regarding the house of God and regarding God, and it was first founded in the children of Israel, and some of it carried over into the New Testament, but some of it was left back there. And so we need to be able to distinguish that from which, in order to be where we're at in the present, and then to move forward into the future with God as a people and a nation under him. So chapter 17 of the book of Leviticus went into several details that I wanted to point out before we go to talking about Ishmael. So Leviticus chapter 17, and starting with 10, it said, "Whosoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eats any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eats blood, and will cut him off from among this people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes an atonement for the soul. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourns among you eat blood." Okay, and then another key point he made in verse 7, "And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring, and this shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations." So, as we can see, and even going throughout the whole book of Leviticus, God was explaining order and ordinance, and how he set things in order in the earth, and how he established things, and he was making that known unto the tribe of Levi and their Levitical priesthood, in order for them to pass down to, of course, everyone in the kingdom, or everyone that was a part of the nation, everyone that God was calling his inheritance, the children of Israel at that time. And even today, it's for us as saints, those that he has called into his kingdom, those that he has sanctified with his Holy Spirit and set apart, those that he considers to be his royal people, okay, that he has set apart for his kingdom and his purposes of the kingdom of God. Okay, so let me see here. Say another trying to see if there was another book, another chapter that we might want to go into, just to take a look at the tribe of Levi, but I'm going to let that go right there because we're going to definitely be discussing more about it as we go into our Bible study, into other chapters and other books. So I want to take our focus and switch it over for just a minute to Ishmael, and that's Abraham's other son, and he was by Hagar, and we can do a little Bible study on him in the book of Genesis, chapter 25, because we want to make sure we get a good understanding of where we are with the generation of people that God created after the flood, which trickles down to us today. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 12. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, okay? Abraham's son, and whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, she had for Abraham. Okay, so Sarah was Abraham's wife, and then they had the handmaid named Hagar. She was an Egyptian, and she was the one that birthed Ishmael. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, it gives the names of those, and then it goes on. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles. 12 princes according to their nations. So then that's where we actually can see a little bit about Ishmael. Let me see here. And then we have some study about him in chapter 16. Verse 1. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, she could have no children, and she had a handmaid, the Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. So that's where we find out again about Hagar, and that's Ishmael's mom, which was the firstborn by Abraham, actually. And Isaac was his second, and Isaac was the one that the covenant and the blessing came through, because he was married to Sarah, and Sarah was his wife, and that's where the covenant was attached to his wife Sarah. Okay, so that's going to bring us to the conclusion of our Bible study today in 1Chronicles chapter 9. God bless you, and I hope to study with you again as we continue to move forward in our Bible study on the Feed My Sheep Foundation video channel. Until then, may God bless you and be with you continually.